I've noticed an interesting pattern during Gemini season that I thought I would share with you guys. And it's mostly that while we're under the sign of the twins, things have a way of heating up and there's tension in the air. This Gemini season, in 2025, is no different. We have the public feud between Elon Musk and Trump. We have everything going on with ICE and the southern border. And then, of course, we now have Israel versus Iran. On May 5th, 2020, the George Floyd incident unfolded. George Floyd died under the knee of Derek Chauvin for using a counterfeit $20 bill. What struck me in the summer of 2020, when riots and protests exploded across the country, is how much Gemini symbolism played a part in the George Floyd incident. Not only did George Floyd die during Gemini season, but he died in Minneapolis, which is considered a twin city to St. Paul. A friend of George Floyd, an NBA player named Steven Jackson, even referred to him as a brother or a twin on multiple occasions in the media.
Can you just tell us about him? You didn't call him George, you called him twin.
Yeah, I've heard George in the last couple of days more than I've heard in my whole life. And we had a 20+ year relationship. His name was always Floyd, our twin. And, and 9 out of 10 times we called each other twin. He was just a great dude, man.
The connections to Gemini season and twin symbolism are many. But before we dive deeper into things, just know this is a purely symbolic exploration. This isn't necessarily about social justice, racial tensions, a police state, or the right versus the left. At the end of the day, this video is about pattern recognition and symbolism. What you do with this information is up to you. Whether the George Floyd incident was purely organic, premeditated, or somewhere in between, I'm simply pointing out the patterns that I find hard to ignore. You're watching Brick by Brick, George Floyd and the Gemini Ritual. One of the things I found really interesting was how much I was picking up on bricks and brick symbolism throughout the whole storyline of the George Floyd incident. What I've learned over the years is that bricks have a huge correspondence with Gemini. The ancient Babylonians, as an example, would bake bricks under the open sun and resume construction projects during Gemini season. They even referred to Gemini season as the brick mold. And in Peru, Gemini was once known as a pile of bricks. Knowing about these connections, I thought it was interesting as well that George Floyd would wear a hat that says Brick Boys on it. This is a reference to a crew he belonged to, and of course a brick has a double meaning, with cocaine and other drugs. The housing project George Floyd grew up in was also referred to as the Bricks. Adding to that, the most well-known photo of George Floyd is him in front of a brick wall. There's also images of George Floyd's chest tattoo, which appears to be a double-headed eagle. A lot of people were speculating at the time that this might have to do with Freemasonry, which also makes use of the double-headed eagle. This is a curious connection as well, because George Floyd's father was a known Freemason, and the Freemasonic Brotherhood is all about masonry. Stones and bricks carry a lot of symbolic weight in the craft. There's also a major correspondence between Freemasonry and Gemini symbolism. As an example, the glyph for Gemini is Roman numeral 2, which is indicative of the twins, or twin pillars. Freemasonry is well known for its use of twin pillars. You'll see twin pillars at any lodge, and you'll also see them in front of Solomon's temple. It's not uncommon to see Mercury depicted with twin pillars as well, and as we know, Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury. I also think it's fascinating that Freemasons refer to each other as brothers, which reminds me of the twins. And speaking of brothers, it's worth mentioning the twin brothers of Roman mythology, Romulus and Remus. Romulus is the first king of Rome, and is literally where we get the word Rome from. In many hero twin myths, one twin is considered light and the other one dark, and often the dark twin kills the light twin. In this case, Romulus kills Remus. Together they built the first wall in Rome. It's at this very wall that Romulus would kill his brother Remus for jumping over it. Now, why would Romulus kill Remus for jumping over a wall? A lot of hero twin myths are actually encoding the dynamic between agrarian society and nomadic society. This is the case as well with Cain and Abel. As agrarian society builds walls, cities, and empires, this prevents the nomad from being able to freely travel. As it relates to George Floyd and many conflicts throughout history, there are those who want to move freely, and there are those who want nothing of it. So when you dive deep into Gemini symbolism, It encodes a curious ancient relationship between the twins and bricks. It's for this reason and more that you'll see in classic versions of the Sun card twin brothers in front of a brick wall. And you can't talk about twin symbolism without talking about the number 2. It's been said that the number 2 is the first number of conflict or division. It represents the monad splitting in two, and now there's even two things to war against each other. In fact, a lot of people believe that the age of Gemini was a time of war. It's interesting as well because Gemini is an air sign, and in the tarot, it's the sword that corresponds with air. The sword will take the one and split it in two, and I see the sword, or any blade for that matter, clearly relating to division. It cuts and severs what was once whole. In the tarot, the major arcana correspondence for Gemini is the Lovers, and the Hebrew letter that corresponds with this card is Zayin, which means sword. So if there's a sign that represents tension more than any other, I would say it's Gemini. The tension between black and white, positive and negative, or the immigrant versus the native. This is mirrored in the fact that Gemini not only corresponds to the lungs, but also the arms. This is interesting because we naturally have the symbolism of the left-hand path versus the right-hand path. Our arms, left and right, symbolically represent the twins. This also parallels words and concepts like army, to be armed, the right to bear arms, or the armed forces. Naturally, I can't help but think about civil war and tension from within, which the George Floyd incident clearly relates to. So with all of this in mind, I was completely blown away when I started seeing, of all things, pallets of bricks show up across the country for protesters and rioters. These pallets showed up mysteriously and in close proximity to protest areas.
This right here?
Yeah, they put them there
This
on
the
purpose.
setup.
They put them there on purpose,
Y'all know
bro.
where we at.
They gonna set them hoes right up on the route.
Y'all know what building this is
Come
right
on
here.
now.
I ain't even gonna say what name it is.
Hey, where do them bricks go to? Where do them
This
bricks
is
go
setup.
to? Where do them bricks
We
go
gotta
to?
do better.
Ain't no damn
Gotta
construction.
do better.
Ain't no damn construction around here.
I see.
Ain't no damn construction around here. You just gonna set a pallet of bricks right there. Oh, okay.
Listen.
This reminded me of the dual symbolism of the brick. Not only can it be used to build, but also destroy, which is exactly how writers used what was conveniently provided for them. So there you have it. From Minneapolis, a twin city, during the season of the twins, you have deep esoteric symbolism connected to the sign, including its ancient correspondence to, of all things, bricks. And there's even more connections that didn't make the final cut, which shows you, for one reason or another, how layered and encoded this event truly was. For all things Symbolic Studies, please visit symbolicstudies.com. And for exclusive content, head on over to patreon.com/symbolicstudies.